All right, good morning, folks. Today we are going to continue work on this axe head here. So last class, we're doing a little bit of filing on it to try and get a nice edge. I've gone ahead and just finished that up, giving us a nice, good looking edge, but not a sharp edge. No reason for this to be sharp. So got that edge right there. And next step, what we're gonna do is we are going to start to file some of these edges, and then we're going to cut this off. So we're going to grab a flat file, we're going to grab a round file, we're going to grab a hacksaw, maybe a file card to clean out the files in case they get clogged up with junk, and maybe something like a piece of emery cloth. Emery cloth is basically sandpaper for steel, going to help us clean things up. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start filing these edges here. There's a lot of saw marks, a little rough. I got burrs on the edges. We want those gone. We want this to look good. So we're going to work on, do you know what we're going to do? We are going to cut this off first. So I'm going to grab a hacksaw. I'm going to draw a line on here. We're going to chop that off, and then we're going to start processing the edges. It'll be easier. So best way to do this, folks, is with a combination square and chunk of soapstone. So the soapstone is kind of dull, so we're actually going to sharpen it up using this file. I take it, run it up and down the file, and it's going to sharpen up the soapstone for me. I want a nice clean line, so I know where I'm going to cut. So just like that, we got a nice sharp piece of soapstone. And we're going to mark out this line on here. So rest this on the back side here. And I'm going to draw this line on. Okay. So right there, we're going to cut that line straight down. Then we're going to clean up all three sides here. So time to get back on the hacksaw. But this will be the last bit of hacksawing we have to do. So safety first, glasses come off. Safety glasses go on. All right. Here we have our hacksaw. We reviewed this the other day. Hand on the back, hand on the front. Bit of a push, light on the back stroke. So get this rolling, get this cut off here. Make sure it's secure in the vise so it's not sliding on you. All right, this is moving more than I'd like. So we're going to try this once more, and if it still moves, we're going to move to that vise, which has serrated teeth, a bit of a grip on them, and those are going to help us out. It's going to stop this from moving. Now the key with this is you want long strokes. You don't want to, you're going to be there forever doing it. So use the whole blade. We got a whole blade. Might as well use the whole blade. Okay, I'm just about at the end, so I'm going to lighten up as they come down through. That way we don't fly through and bang our knuckles off the vise or something like that. We just want to go nice and easy at the end. All right. So there is the basis of our axe head. Nice straight cut there on the back. We got to clean all this up. But what I want to do is I'm going to put a little bit of a scallop in here. And what that is this is going to be a bit of a downswing in it. And that's going to be semi-rounded. So I'm going to use a round file for that. And I'm going to basically draw it out on here. So we got this piece here. And what I want to do is put a slight little curve in there, kind of like that, maybe a little bit more. And that's more for aesthetics, just to give it that shape. And we're going to do that for both sides, bottom and the top. We'll start with the top one. The way to do that is with a round file. So I got a couple of round files here. One's rough, one's fine. We're going to start with the rough one, get that shaped up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this in here. I'm going to start right in the middle and to start working a little bit of a depression in the middle. And that is going to be the basis of the curves in here. So this is all going to be freestyle for you guys. Do it as you want to. If you want to leave these flat, file them nice, leave them flat. It doesn't bother me, but I want to put something on this, make it look a little nice. And to do that, I'm going to use this round file. I'm going to start in the middle. And it's going to take a little bit, but eventually you will get what you're looking for. We want to start getting that little bit of the depression in the middle. And we're already starting to see some of it, so that's good. This isn't going to take very long at all. So with this, I like to keep this in the back hand. I like to keep the front hand on the front. And you can tuck your fingers in, do whatever you like with this. I just keep this available because this slips off. I may need to support my weight. So I don't lock my hand on here. I just make sure I can, brace myself with it, something like that. See, too, sometimes people just put all their weight on here, they'll slip off and they'll end up moving forward, potentially injuring themselves. So we're just trying to keep ourselves safe. We don't need to lean super hard on this because remember, these files are brittle. Talked about that yesterday. I could literally take one of these, smash it here, crack right into, and have super sharp edges on it, but it'll also be a waste of file, but they are brittle. They don't like that impact, that shock impact, and they do not flex. Like I said, it's like glass. We're getting some nice shape to this. We're going to do a little bit more. That was looking pretty good. So we're going to flip this, move on to the next side here. This is going to be hard to see, but we don't have to put that much of a depression in there. I guess you see that gap there. We don't have to put that much of a depression in there to make it look nice. So this has got a neat little shape to it. We're going to flip it over, do it to the other side. And we're going to file up these edges here and maybe grab some emery cloth. So make sure it's nice and secure in the vise again. Grab our file. See how this smooth file is. You can try that out. Okay, it's good, but it's definitely not as aggressive. It's gonna be more slow, so I'm gonna go back to the more coarse file. We're gonna continue working with that. Okay, we're starting to see some depression. That's good. I'm gonna get a little tired too, but we will rock and roll. We'll keep this going. We'll get this finished up for you guys today. We're gonna start some gas metallurgic welding in the next couple days here. So let's carry on with this. Now, trick is with this too. As I'm trying to grind this curve in here, or file this curve in here, I'm actually sliding the file along the length of this piece. So from edge to edge, as I start, I'll start here and then move to here. That's so we don't just cut a deep, narrow groove in here. We want it to be looking like a gradual depression.
Yo, look at him go, bro.
All right, so I'm liking how that's looking. It's got a bit of curve to it. That one's got a nice bit of curve to it. What we want to do, we want to start cleaning up these edges. So I'm going to use the round file to clean these rounded edges, flat file to flatten this back out, make it look nice. The whole goal with this is you want this basically, you want it to look sharp, but maybe not be sharp. Think of it like you were going to give it to my 2-year-old boy. Not that I would give him a piece of steel, but if you want to give my boy, 2-year-old or my 2-year-old boy a piece of steel, you want to make sure it didn't have any sharp edges on it that he could hurt himself with. And that's kind of how I want to finish this up, where it's got fairly square edges, but they're not sharp. So got this piece here. We're going to flatten this out on the back. All right, so we got the saw marks out of that. So now we're going to position this on the edge here. And we're just going to take the file, start around all the sharp edges over, make it nice and safe. And we'll grab some emery cloth as well. So these sharp edges, we're just lightly filing them all over. Make sure no one's going to get hurt. That's just nicer for handling as well. Just want to make sure everything is good. So those ones are all pretty good and soft. So a term I use when talking about those edges is I'd say break the edges. Means just take that sharp edge off of it. That's all I mean when I say that. So I'm taking the file on the angle. I'm gonna come up here and make sure these are nice and soft. There's no burrs. That definitely doesn't take much. All right, so that's all feeling pretty decent. I'll flip over to the other side. Here. Do it here as well. Okay, that is feeling pretty good. So we have a mostly complete head for that axe. So it's looking good. A couple other steps we could do. Now these ones will be, well, this next one isn't going to be optional, but the one after that is going to be optional. We're going to give you the option to stamp your initials in here as well. I do have stamps. I do kind of recommend it just because there are going to be, potentially a bunch of these around the classroom, and you want yours to be yours. So I've got 1/2 inch stamps, I got 1/4 inch stamps. So you guys can choose what you'd like, put your initials on it. It's really up to you. Just want to make sure that you can identify it as yours. Is it difficult to stamp our initials? It can be. You have to swing a hammer confidently, but we set these up on the anvil. We hold the letter stamps with vice grips, keeping our hand away from the vice grips or the stamps. So if we're not confident with the hammer, we don't have to worry about hitting our hand. Then we strike the stamp nice and confidently on the top, and it should transfer our initials or whatever we have chosen. I'll show you guys that because once I finish the, the emery cloth on this, then we'll do that. So the emery cloth is what we're going to grab now. And that is sandpaper for steel. It's going to take the dark stuff off of here. And what I like to do is before sanding this off directly, I like to try and take a file to this. So we're going to see if we can get rid of some of this with a file before moving to the emery cloth, save us some time. We've got this held in here. It seems like it's decent enough. We'll see how it goes. We're gonna take this file and see if we can't get some, oh, that popped out just like that. So what I'm gonna do is try a different way. I'm gonna pinch this in the vise here, just a little bit.
Mr. Scott, can you move
we're
your
gonna
camera
run
down so we can see?
So I got this set up in the vise like this. I tried it on his side, didn't quite work, so I stood it up. We're gonna take this file, we're gonna run it across the surface. Just axe a few times, see if we can maybe get some of that darker mill scale off. All that dark stuff you see is mill scale from the factory or when the steel is machined. It's just a coating on there. It kind of protects the steel from rusting, oxidizing. But for this exercise, I want to take it off of here. So we're gonna file most of it off, and then we're gonna sand off the rest. All in all, it's working pretty well. We've taken a lot of the dark off here. I'll show you in just a second once I get this side done. That's looking pretty good. Definitely some file work, but not a whole lot. It's pretty easy all in all. So that's nice and fairly clean. We're gonna do is flip it, take care of that last bit of mill scale. So as you can see, we've got a lot of that mill scale off. And this is now raw steel. And that's the mill scale we used to have. So we're gonna work on this section here, work on the section on the backside, and then we're gonna use emery cloth, sand that up nice, get it nice and smooth. All right, so we've done pretty well. It's looking pretty good so far. What I need to do though is get some of that sandpaper and or the emery cloth, and we'll sand this a little bit up here. So emery cloth, I keep in that toolbox right there. One of the top drawers says emery cloth on it, the open top one. So go check that one out. And that's where the emery cloth will be when you guys get back. So just like sandpaper, 2 different grits of emery cloth. It says right on the back, we've got a fine emery cloth, we've got a coarse emery cloth. So we're gonna start with the coarse, and then we're gonna move to the fine, and that's gonna help us get rid of all our scratches and everything on here. So all I'm gonna do is just pinch this in the vise, whichever way works for you best. I'm just pinching the edge of my blade and the backside here. And I'm gonna just work back and forth on this, taking a lot of the big scratches out, trying to get the last bit of the factory mill scale off the steel as well. So we don't have to go too crazy with it, but I want to try and get the majority of the scratches out. Files will leave scratches. So we're going to try and get majority of that stuff off of here, leaving us with just a good looking product. I said, I don't want to spend forever on this hand tools project. I want it to be a part of a bigger project. So spend some good time on it, but don't spend all your time on it because we do need to get our welding completed. So this will take some time, but I think the result is definitely going to be worth it. It's going to look nice. I'm going to switch over to the fine here. I'm only going to sand this one side. Then we'll do a bit of stamping. I'll show you that stamping. And that'll be it for today's class. But that's going to be the overview of this little hand tools project here. As we know, that's the end result, or that's the goal anyways. That's where we want to get. So we will try our best to get there. So I got the fine now. I'm gonna work this side nice and clean. Overall, I think we're looking decent. We're not perfect. I'm not going to make this perfect in front of you. I don't want to waste all your time sitting here watching me sand this, but I want to keep it looking good. So I've done a fair amount of the sanding. Getting a lot of the stuff out of here. And yeah, things are looking pretty good. So I'm going to grab a couple different stamp sets. We're going to talk about those, and then we'll do some stamping maybe. All right, folks. So what I have here, a couple different stamp sets. So I have a smaller set right here. It's going to be 1/4 inch tops, A through Z, 1 through 9 by the looks of it. Lots of selection there. And the usage of these is pretty simple. We just have to remember that they are mirrored. So when it's going down, it will be backwards. But what I like to do is grab it with some vice grips. If I'm not confident in my hammer skills, take a hammer, place it on my steel, give it a nice little smack. If you're really worried about things being lined up perfectly, take a, what do you call it? Combination square and a piece of soapstone. Draw a line on your soapstone, line your stamps up with that, and give it a good whack. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stamp my actual head I'm working on. I'm going to stamp a little scrap piece for you here, but we're going to take this over to the anvil, and we're going to work with 2 different sets of stamps, and I'll be back for the laptop shortly. Sorry. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna head over, we're gonna take a peek at this anvil and talk about that for a minute. So you probably see that anvil right there. That's what we're working on, but talk about these first. So hammers, these ones are new, these ones are not. The wooden handle ones I've found are getting a little old and starting to fail. So before using these, we want to check that this head is nice and tight. It's not moving, it's not wiggly, it's not coming off. We've got the wedge anchor in there. That wedge anchor separates this wood, splits it out, forces it into the head here and pinches it on. This opening in the top of the hammer is called an eye. So that's where the handle goes through. We got wood, steel wedge, hammerhead. Also, we want to check, make sure that this is not cracked. This one's dirty, it's old, it's beat up, but it is still intact. I had a problem with a lot of these getting damaged. So I went out and I got some fiberglass handled ones with secured epoxied on heads. So these ones should be pretty good, but it's still always good to check a hammer before you use it. You don't want to swing this and have a 24 ounce head go flying across the room into one of your classmates. Not a good thing. So we're going to use one of these. I got my anvil right here, nice flat striking surface, but I need some vice grips. I don't like holding those the stamps by hand, just because if you hit on an angle, that's going to go shooting off one direction. You could smack your finger. I did have a young lady in my FAB 10 girls class who smacked her finger pretty good. She ended up losing her nail. And that was pretty much the worst injury I've had in my shop so far. I don't want to lose any more. So we'll leave it at 1. So we'll grab some vice grips and we will start stamping this piece here. So with the vice grips, I recommend you get ones with straight jaws. That way they're going to grip evenly on the stamp. If you got curved jaws, there's a possibility of that stamp flying out of here. So I've got this set here. It's a bigger one. It's just alphabetical. There's no numbers. This is also my own personal set, guys. So this is in here for you to use, but please do your best not to lose anything, because if I lose one piece, I got to replace the whole set, and they are not cheap. So we're gonna put Mr. Scott or Mr. S on the piece. So we're gonna grab the M, and we're gonna adjust it so we get a nice grip with the vice grips here. We're gonna line that up on our piece of steel right here. Biggest thing is just hit it with some authority. You got to be authoritative here. So that's why I like to use the vice grips, so people can keep their fingers away, be confident. And I usually set up a couple scrap pieces so you can practice on it. But with this, just really give it a good smack. Try and hold the stamp level. Oftentimes it doesn't end up being level because we'll lean one way or another. So what we do in this case is we put the stamp back where it was and give it a nice good solid hit. You know, I've done 2 hits on it. Still, I could do it a little better. So we're gonna place it back one final time. And the big thing with this, guys, is you got to make sure you get the stamp in the exact same spot. Otherwise, it's going to have shadows of itself, and it's not going to look very good at all. So taking that moment to line it up is going to help you out. And then I need to tip this one towards the front to get the front legs showing through on the M more. Okay. So hopefully you can see that. Probably not that well, but there is an M stamped in there. Looks pretty good. It's pretty straight. There's no shadows. Every hit was in the same spot. So that's nice. So we're gonna put an R beside that. And then, yeah, we'll probably round out the lesson for today, because that's pretty much what I got to show you. So we're gonna do the R. Pop this back in here. R is right here. Have it in there. Nice. Line it up, and let's say RIP headphone users. If you got headphones, here's your warning. Okay, is that one pretty well? Just give it one more little smack here. We're gonna line it up a little bit more on the front. There it goes. All right. So MR, I don't think I'm gonna get the S on there. But that is pretty much the basis of it. So you can put that on the side of your head of your axe. I have some smaller ones too. You can stamp them in there. Small ones are quite small. I might grab one of those and put a little bit on for comparison just to show you. So we're gonna pop this one back and see if we can find an M in here. Here's an M. Okay, so we're gonna readjust this nice and small so we can grip the M. All right, and then we're gonna take this, pop it right down here beside the R or the M. Now let's do it above it. Why not? There's open space there. Line up how you like it, give it a good smack. And since we have so much pressure on such a small space with the smaller letters, it may actually take less hits. Hard to see above my big M. There's a little M. I think that Shadow's got it there. And yeah, so that might be a more effective way of doing it than the bigger ones, but this is your choice. It's really up to you. I'm good with anything. I just want it to be so you can identify it, and say some classmate accidentally grabs yours, you can look at it and go, no, it's mine because of this. And the classmate will go, oh yeah, sorry, my bad, my bad. Give it back and they'll go find their own, hopefully. That's how it goes. But that's what I wanted to show you for today, guys. I'm gonna let you get out of here. It is almost lunch. No homework for today. Nothing, I got nothing for you. But I wanted to finish this up. So after this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start talking about some gas metal arc welding safety stuff. Get all that out of the way so when we get back here, we can just jump in and start doing some welding. So that's what I got for you today, folks. Stay healthy, stay happy. You know, we're getting through this all, and in just a couple of short weeks, you'll be back in class. So that's it for today. Enjoy your lunch, and I will see you tomorrow, same time online. Okay, thanks, guys. Got
Bye, Mr.
Wes.